Hertfordshire's villages and grand estates hide chilling legends. From haunted chapels to ghostly halls, these 10 places reveal a county where history and restless spirits still linger. Shaw's Corner. Hidden away in the quiet village of Ayot, St. Lawrence, stands Shaw's Corner, once the beloved home of playwright George Bernard Shaw. The house itself looks peaceful with its well-kept gardens and warm brickwork, yet within its walls linger tales that suggest the playwright's home was never entirely at rest. Visitors have long spoken of strange disturbances. Doors open of their own accord. Echoing footsteps sound in empty rooms, and sharp knocks echo against the wood at night when no one is near. On some occasions, the stillness has been broken by a single chord struck on the old piano in the parlor, as though an unseen hand wished to test its voice. Even the burglar alarms are said to trigger without cause, piercing the silence in the dead of night. Legends tie some of these phenomena to Shaw's illustrious circle of friends. Local lore insists that the roar of a motorbike has been heard outside the house, though no vehicle is present. It is said to echo the exhaust of Lawrence of Arabia's machine, a reminder of his visits during the early 20th century. Whether spirit or memory, the sound has unsettled more than one late-night caretaker. Eyewitness accounts add to the mystery. A former house attendant recalled hearing the unmistakable creak of a door opening behind her, followed by the sensation of someone standing at her shoulder. Yet when she turned, the room remained empty, chilled by a draft that had no source. Today, Shaw's Corner is a place of literary pilgrimage, but it carries with it these darker echoes. The home of a great writer remains alive with whispers, footsteps, and unseen presences, as though the walls themselves refuse to fall silent. And as we leave its quiet rooms behind, we are left wondering whether creativity draws spirits close, or whether history itself refuses to release its hold here. Fanham's Hall Hotel. In the market town of where Fanham's Hall stands proud, a grand mansion-turned-hotel. Its long corridors, oak-paneled rooms, and sweeping gardens seem at first designed only for elegance and leisure. Yet beneath this polished surface, the hall carries a reputation for disturbances that cannot be explained by wind or creaking timbers. Visitors and staff have reported sounds that echo through empty rooms, the laughter of unseen revelers, footsteps pacing where no one walks, and faint strains of music drifting down staircases long after midnight. One chilling story tells of a woman working alone who felt unseen hands close firmly around her neck, leaving her struggling for breath. On another occasion, someone's hair was yanked back with violent force, as though by a mischievous or malicious presence. The apparitions here are varied. A man in a waistcoat is sometimes glimpsed looking out over the gardens, though only the top half of his body is ever visible. In a tall gilt mirror, the reflection of a woman resembling a medieval queen, with gown and pointed hat, has been described. Guests have spoken of shapes moving behind them when no one else was present, of whispers at their ear, and of objects shifting or falling without touch. Eyewitnesses often recall the sudden drop in temperature that heralds these moments, a sensation sharp enough to make the hair rise on their arms. One security guard swore that an icy breath passed the back of his neck while patrolling the silent corridors, only to turn and find the hall empty. The haunting of Fanham's Hall has no single story, no clear figure to blame. Instead, it seems to host a gathering of shades, each restless in its own way. Whether they are remnants of the hall's long history or fragments of imagination born from its atmospheric rooms, the effect is the same. The elegance of the building makes the disturbances feel even more uncanny, and for those who linger in its shadowed chambers, The impression is clear. Fanham's Hall is a place where splendor and unease walk hand in hand. Minsden Chapel, hidden deep within woodland near the hamlet of Chapelfoot, lies Minsden Chapel, a 14th century ruin, now crumbling into ivy and moss. Once a place of worship for pilgrims on the road to St. Albans, it was abandoned by the 17th century and left to decay. Today, the broken arches and roofless walls form a setting that feels closer to legend than to history. The chapel is one of Hertfordshire's most haunted places. Walkers have often reported the sound of bells ringing from within the ruin, even though the bell tower collapsed centuries ago. Others speak of faint music drifting across the clearing as though long-forgotten services were still being held within the open air. The figures said to linger here are varied. A ghostly nun has been seen gliding along the edges of the ruin, while a somber monk is said to appear near the old altar. A small child dressed in clothes from centuries past has also been glimpsed, moving quietly through the fallen stone. Each sighting adds to the chapel's reputation as a place where time itself seems to falter. The most famous tale belongs to Halloween. According to local legend, if one visits the chapel at midnight on that night, a monk is seen climbing a staircase that no longer exists. The stairs once rose at the northeastern corner, but today only rubble remains. Witnesses claim the spectral monk still ascends through empty air, his feet landing on steps that have long since crumbled away. One villager recalled standing in the clearing on an October night when the air suddenly grew icy still. From the ruin rose the sound of measured footsteps, each one echoing as if upon stone. In the half-light, he thought he saw the dark outline of a figure mounting invisible stairs. Afraid to draw nearer, he turned away, and when he looked back, the figure had gone. For centuries abandoned Minsden Chapel, nevertheless, draws the curious. It is not simply the ruin that lingers, but the suggestion of voices, bells, and that climbing monk who will not let go of his midnight ritual. Balls Park Mansion. In the heart of Hertford stands Balls Park Mansion, a grand house whose history stretches back to the 17th century. The grounds are peaceful today, yet beneath the stillness lies a story of despair that has echoed for centuries. According to local legend, a young woman once lived here in deep sorrow. Her life, marked by heartbreak, ended when she threw herself from the mansion's balcony one October evening. It is said that her grief imprinted itself upon the building, for her figure has often been seen in the autumn months, a grey shadow standing where she leapt, her outline fading into the dusk. Security guards and visitors alike have reported strange encounters. Some speak of a sudden force, as though an unseen hand had pushed them back from the balcony itself. One guard described being hurled several feet by an invisible power, the cold air around him filled with a sense of overwhelming anger. Others have seen a pale form drifting silently along the corridors, her long dress brushing against the paneled walls. The mansion seems particularly restless in October. Witnesses talk of lights flickering without cause, of doors that refuse to remain closed, and of a chill that clings to the stairwells no matter the season. One visitor described hearing soft weeping in an empty room, the sound of someone pacing before it faded into silence. There are those who believe this phantom is the same woman who leapt to her death. Each year, as the anniversary approaches, she is drawn back to the place of her final despair, forever replaying the moment that ended her life. Others whisper of multiple spirits wandering the mansion, drawn to its long history and tragic past. Yet the most unsettling detail lies directly beneath the balcony. It is here that witnesses say a grey figure sometimes appears, standing as though frozen in grief, watching the place where life was lost. She lingers silent and sorrowful before fading into the air. Balls Park Mansion may appear calm to the casual eye, but those who walk its corridors at night often leave with a lingering chill, as if the house itself remembers its darkest October secret. St. Mary and All Saints Church. Hidden deep in the Hertfordshire countryside stands the ruin of St. Mary and All Saints Church, its crumbling tower rising like a sentinel above the surrounding fields. Long abandoned, the site has become shrouded in legend, with locals speaking in hushed tones of ghostly encounters around its broken walls. Those who have dared to explore after dusk often describe strange groaning sounds rising from the tower. These are not the creaks of old stone, but noises that feel purposeful, almost like warnings to keep away. One witness likened it to a voice straining from deep within the earth, urging intruders to turn back before something unseen took hold. The graveyard itself has its share of uncanny reports. An eerie figure, tall and indistinct, is said to move silently among the tombstones, its presence felt more strongly on mist-laden nights. Some believe this phantom is a guardian spirit, while others whisper it is a restless soul trapped in the ruins of the old church. Perhaps the most unsettling tale comes from a woman who claimed to hear shouting and see fire in the ruins on a cold evening. As she watched in disbelief, a troop of spectral soldiers, clad in helmets and breastplates, rushed toward her. At the last moment, they split apart, passing soundlessly by on either side before vanishing into the night. Historians point to echoes of long-past conflicts, as if the land itself replays the chaos of battle. Even in daylight, the place carries a heavy atmosphere. Visitors often speak of sudden chills along the riverbank and the uneasy feeling of being watched. Some who linger too long near the tower describe a crushing weight on the chest, as though the very air is warning them away. Whether these experiences are born of memory legend or the imagination stirred by ruins, the stories of St. Mary and All Saints Church remain among Hertfordshire's most haunting. A ruin it may be, but the echoes that drift through its tower and graveyard remind us that some places refuse to rest in silence. Plume of Feathers Pub. In the quiet village of Chewin, the Plume of Feathers Pub has stood for centuries, its timber beams and low ceilings giving little hint of the unsettling tales that swirl within. Though known to locals for hearty meals and a welcoming fire, the pub carries with it a legacy of strange disturbances and ghostly sightings. Poltergeist-like behavior is often reported here, beginning in the kitchen. Staff speak of ovens turning on and off by unseen hands, pots rattling, and beer taps inexplicably tampered with in the middle of service. One worker recalled finding the cellar door locked tight behind him without cause, leaving him trapped for long minutes until the door finally swung open of its own accord. At the top of those same cellar stairs, a phantom child has been seen more than once. Witnesses describe a little girl in old-fashioned dress, her face pale and fleeting, who lingers briefly before vanishing into the shadows. Some believe she may have been connected to a body discovered centuries ago, bricked up behind a fireplace near the dining area. In the bar itself, a phantom old man has often been noted at table 8. Once a lit candle was found waiting there, though no customer had sat at the table that evening. Others have spoken of an elderly woman with long grey hair and a transparent gown, cackling softly as she drifted past. She too seems drawn to table 8, as though bound to it by some unfinished story. One of the strangest reports is of a man seen leaning against the bar, but facing the wrong way. Locals note that the bar once faced in the opposite direction centuries ago, and so it seems the ghost still stands where it was in his lifetime. In the ladies' toilets, doors open and close without cause, startling patrons who swear no one else was there. Though the Plume of Feathers remains a popular inn, its patrons know they may share their drinks with more than the living. With its laughter, warmth, and shadows, it remains a place where history refuses to loosen its grip. Place House Hall. In the center of where lies Place House Hall, a handsome old building whose red brick and elegant windows speak of centuries of history. Once a private home, and later a school, the hall has seen countless lives pass through its corridors. Yet those who enter today say that not all of its former residents have truly left. The most common reports from Place House are of ghostly children. Staff and visitors alike have spoken of hearing laughter drifting down the corridors when no one is there, or the patter of small feet running across the upper floors long after the building has closed. Some even claim to have caught glimpses of figures darting past doorways. Fleeting outlines of boys and girls in Victorian dress faces turn to the ground as though still bound by the rules of a strict schoolroom. One former caretaker told of locking up the hall late one evening. As he checked the empty classrooms, he distinctly heard the scrape of chairs being dragged across the floor behind him. When he turned, the room was still. Only when he returned to the same corridor did he hear the unmistakable sound of a child humming a nursery tune. A tune his grandmother later confirmed was common in the 19th century, long before the man was born. There are darker accounts too. Cold spots are often felt on the main staircase, as though someone invisible brushes past. Visitors have spoken of a sudden sense of unease, like being watched by unseen eyes. In the old assembly room, photographs have occasionally revealed strange mists or orbs not visible at the time, convincing some that the children of Place House are still gathering there. Why they remain is uncertain. Some suggest the spirits are echoes of the hall's long years as a school where lessons, games, and punishments left a lasting imprint. Others believe one tragic incident may explain it, a tale of a child who died after a fall from a high window, said to return in spirit to join his classmates. Today, Place House Hall is remembered not only for its heritage, but also for these whispers of the past. In the quiet, after the last visitor has left, one may still hear the faint sound of children at play. St. Michael's Manor Hotel. Nestled in the historic city of St. Albans, St. Michael's Manor Hotel is a place of elegance and tranquility, surrounded by landscaped gardens and a peaceful lake. Yet behind the polished charm of this country house lies a tale of one ghostly figure who continues to wander its halls. The most frequently told story is of a phantom who appears on the hotel's main staircase. Guests climbing to their rooms have spoken of seeing a shadowy figure glide past them, sometimes descending, sometimes rising, but always silent. Described as tall and cloaked in a dark gown, the apparition never acknowledges those who see it. Many say that it vanishes midway down the stairs, dissolving into the air as though swallowed by the house itself. One chilling account came from a couple staying in the manor. As they returned late to their room, the woman froze at the sight of a pale figure standing on the landing above them. Believing it to be another guest, they stepped aside, only to watch as the figure turned, drifted through the banister rail, and disappeared into the shadows below. The woman fainted, and her husband later swore the air grew icy cold in the exact spot where the ghost had vanished. Hotel staff are well aware of the legend. Several former employees have admitted to hearing footsteps along the staircase long after midnight when all the guests were asleep. On one occasion, A porter swore he heard the rustle of skirts brushing against the carpet, followed by a heavy sigh. When he investigated, the staircase was empty, though the chandelier above swayed as if someone had just passed beneath it. Who is this mysterious spirit? Some believe she is a former lady of the house, bound to the place she once loved. Others claim she could be the ghost of a heartbroken guest who met a tragic fate while staying here centuries ago. There are even whispers that her appearance is a warning, a sign of misfortune soon to follow. Today, St. Michael's Manor remains a popular destination, yet visitors often remark that the staircase feels strangely alive. Whether climbing up to their rooms or descending to dinner, many cannot shake the feeling that unseen eyes are watching, and that the staircase ghost walks with them still. Amwell House. In the quiet town of Ware, Amwell House stands as a fine Georgian building with a reputation for refinement and history. Yet beneath its elegant facade lingers a legacy of strange sounds, unexplained sightings, and the restless presence of a spirit who refuses to leave. The most famous tale is of the Grey Lady who drifts from the upper floors of the house. Many believe she once lived here centuries ago, a gentlewoman tied forever to her family home. Guests and staff alike have reported seeing her moving silently across the landings, her pale dress trailing, as if stirred by a wind no one else can feel. Most often she appears near the attic, where her presence is strongest. Footsteps echo from that same attic when the rooms are empty. Several caretakers have gone up to investigate, only to find the air heavy and still, yet the boards creak as though walked upon by unseen feet. One former resident described how, in the dead of night, the sound of children's laughter echoed through the halls. When he opened his door, the corridor was deserted, though the giggling continued faintly until fading into silence. Other witnesses have spoken of a second phantom, a stern figure believed to be a past occupier of the house. His footsteps have been heard pacing from one end of the corridor to the other, pausing as if to listen before resuming their steady march. On more than one occasion, visitors claimed to feel a sudden hand upon their shoulder, though no one was there. Perhaps the most unsettling encounter came from a maid who, while dusting in the morning sun, glimpsed a reflection in the window, not her own, but that of a woman standing behind her. When she turned, the room was empty, yet the scent of lavender hung in the air as if someone long gone had just passed through. Amwell House still carries its charm, but for those who know its legends, it is impossible to walk its halls without glancing over the shoulder. The Grey Lady and her spectral companions remain, ensuring that Ware's stately home is remembered not only for its history, but also for its hauntings. Knebworth House. Knebworth House, with its Gothic towers and dramatic stonework, is one of Hertfordshire's most famous landmarks. Once the home of Sir Edward Bulwer-Lytton, the celebrated novelist and politician, it is also steeped in tales of the supernatural. Bulwer-Lytton was a man fascinated by mysticism and the occult, hosting seances within the house and filling its rooms with an atmosphere of mystery that seems to have lingered long after his death. It is said that Sir Edward himself still walks the corridors. Staff have reported feeling a sudden presence in the study where he once wrote by candlelight, or in the drawing room where he entertained guests with discussions of ghosts and spirits. A cold weight in the air, the faint smell of tobacco, and a sense of being quietly observed are often linked to his lingering ghost. More striking, however, is the tale of a radiant yellow boy. Described as glowing with a strange inner light, this spectral figure is said to appear without warning in the long corridors of the house. Legend has it that his arrival is both a promise and a warning, a sign of a rise to power, but also of a violent or sudden death. Generations of visitors and staff have whispered of this apparition, each appearance adding to the sense that Knebworth is a place where fate itself seems written into the walls. Other stories tell of unexplained noises, the sound of footsteps pacing late at night when the house is empty, or the heavy slam of a door in rooms locked for decades. Lights flicker as if responding to an unseen hand, and on occasion, the echo of voices can be heard in the Great Hall, though no living person is present. For many, Knebworth House remains an architectural marvel, yet beneath its grandeur lies a darker presence. Sir Edward's fascination with the other world may have left more than literary ghosts behind, and the glowing boy's silent appearances remind visitors that this is a house where history and legend cannot easily be separated. From haunted chapels to ghostly manors, Hertfordshire proves England's haunted history lives on. Which county's haunted places should we explore next?